Hi everyone, it's Bernadette Wagner with Prime Time for Women. I'd like to thank you for joining me for this special episode of Prime Time for Women Facebook Live. I'm here today with Dr. Matthew Wagner, my husband of 30 years, and also a psychiatrist with more than 35 years of experience. I wanted to let you know why I decided to do this event this way. So, Prime Time for Women is all about celebrating, supporting, connecting, and empowering women, and in the second half of life. And so, in that regard, I've always just had women on the show. But two things happened recently that made me want to ask Matt to be on the show. He was tapped by Meredith to present to physicians about the stress of coping with COVID-19. And he really, I got to overhear, he did this presentation via a WebEx platform, so I got to listen to him do the presentation. He was in the dining room, in fact, this room we're in right now, and I was in the kitchen. And I heard his presentation, and I just thought, everybody needs to know this. And then later in that week, I got some private messages from people who knew that Matt was practicing psychiatrist for 35 years, asking me, was he seeing patients? And if not, could he recommend somebody? So I just thought to myself, you know what? Women in their prime, we need to hear from men who can really speak to what's bothering us and is a compassionate towards what we're going through. So I just said, would you do it? And he said yes. So thank you so much for being here.
It's a thrill. I've been wanting to get on Primetime for Women Facebook Live forever. This is my big break.
Your first time, right. Good morning, everybody. Elisa, Marcia, and Tisha, and Karen, thanks for joining us. I think Chris is with us too. So one of the things I wanted to say is, you're not going to believe this, but I'm actually going to be quiet for a little bit and give Matt an opportunity to really talk about the content that he shared with the physicians, but also a little bit more skewed towards community members. And then also, if we have time, we'll be taking some questions. And so we have some questions that I received in advance. And then also, if you want to drop us a line or ask us a question, I'm going to do my best with reading your little notes. I'm not that good at that part, but we'll see how I do. So Matt, I'm going to ask you to talk a little bit about coping with COVID-19, the stress, and also some strategies for dealing with that.
Sure. So I'm going to start by saying that this is an extraordinary time for everybody. We're all living through a situation that we really have never lived through before, and many people are feeling anxious, they may be feeling sad, they may be feeling angry. And I kind of conceptualize it a little bit as, kind of going through a grief. We're grieving the loss or the change in our life as we've known it. And you may be familiar with the stages of grief, and all of us are going back and forth through them. And hopefully we're past the denial stage that this isn't going to affect us, because it certainly has affected us all. We may be angry, thinking that people are taking away our freedoms, we can't do what we want. Perhaps we're in the bargaining stage where we say, well, if I'll just practice social distancing for a few weeks, everything will go back to normal. We may be feeling sad, wondering when this is all going to be over. And hopefully we can get to, at some point, a feeling of acceptance that, it's here and we have to deal with it and we have to come up with a way to. So to feel anxious, to feel at odds is perfectly normal. Give yourself permission to do that. But then I want to talk a little bit about how do we organize a personal plan for each one of us to kind of cope with that and move forward. And the way I think about it is thinking about coping with this stressful situation in terms of what we do, what we think, and what we feel. So I kind of break it down into behavior, thoughts, and emotions. And there's things that we can do in each one of those domains to help us through this. So let's start with behavior. So we've all heard about the value of sleep and exercise and good nutrition, and those are all important, and I encourage everybody to continue with those things. But I also want to emphasize the value of getting outdoors, getting some sunlight, and being in the natural world. Sunlight lifts our mood, and being outdoors and being in the natural world tends to reinforce our natural, healthy body rhythms. So the weather's getting better, although today there's some snow flurries out there, which will make this day memorable for all of us, I guess, April 16th. But get outside, get some sunlight, and I think that's a way to help feel better. And another thing we can do in terms of what we do and what our behavior is to try to establish some healthy routines. Now, all of our routines have been disrupted by this situation. Maybe we have to work in a different place, or we're not working, or the kids are home, and everything can feel at loose ends. But healthy routines, predictable routines for the day can really kind of help us get through. So, think about making time for exercise, time for connecting with friends and family, and maybe some downtime as well. So that's in the realm of behavior and what we do. What we feel, what our emotions are like, and how can we manage those? Well, there are certainly some strategies for that too. And I think one of the most important ones is to maintain social connections, doing what you all are doing right now, getting connected. It's hard in this time of isolation to feel like we can keep up with our friends and family, but it's really important. And people are getting very creative about this, as I'm sure you all have heard. Virtual family dinners, virtual book clubs, happy hours, finding ways to stay connected in a social way. And that's very important. We're social animals. We need that. Secondly, don't ignore the value of physical touch. The people that we're living with, that we can stay physically connected to, it's very helpful and powerful stress-relieving mechanisms. Just touch. If you have pets, stay in touch with them physically. It's very, very helpful. Many people find support in their religious traditions or their prayer practices, and so if that's something that's of value to you, put that in your personal plan. For other people, it may be strategies like meditation or mindfulness exercises or relaxation exercises, simple relaxation exercises that you can find on the web, breathing exercises, muscle relaxation exercises. Put them into your daily practice. I think that can be really helpful. The important thing is to find what works for you and put that in your personal plan. And then the third element, and my hostess is back in, so maybe my time's running short.
No, that's fine. You're doing fine.
is what you think about. So we talked about what you do, your behavior. We talked about how you can manage your emotions. So how do you think about this? How can you organize your thinking in a helpful way?
Right.
And so the first thing I'm going to say about that is take the long view about this problem. It can feel like forever, but it's not. This is temporary. This pandemic is going to subside. We're going to get back to a normal. It might be a new normal, but we'll get back to doing things that we want to do. So take the long view. Secondly, keep this in perspective. Human beings are resourceful. We're adaptable. It's what makes us human. You're already adapting. You've been in this for a month. You're still here. You're still talking to us. That's a good thing. Practice gratitude for what you have in your life and who you have in your life. There's lots of different little gratitude exercises. The 3 good things exercise is one, or just making a little time in your day to say something you're grateful for. Bernadette and I do that at dinner. We practice saying something that we're grateful for. And then look for meaning or satisfaction in your life. It can be frustrating and difficult. You can feel at loose ends, but there's something in your life that you can stay connected to that gives you a sense of meaning. If the kids are home instead of being at school, give yourself credit for being parents and being present to your children. That's a positive thing. So look for something that you feel connected to and that gives you a sense of satisfaction. And lastly, it might be helpful just to give yourself a little time out or a little escape from the daily stress. Something that you can look forward to that takes you away from this. I started rereading the Harry Potter series since this all started. I'm on book 4 or 5, I think, and I'm confident that good's going to triumph over evil again.
It does in the books, right?
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's my little escape. That's one of the things that I've done to kind of help me cope with this. So those are a couple of thoughts I have. The important thing is not everything's going to work for everybody, but you want to create a personal plan, a plan that works for you, and try to apply it every day and keep some of those principles in mind.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
Sure.
So I bet you're all wishing that you were married to him. I'm one lucky lady, I know it. Yes. But one of the things I wanted to do was kind of give a little bit of personal touch to some of the things Matt talked about. He was saying that this is a new situation. And one of the things we learned over parenting, 5 kids, was that new situations require a new response, something new. And as each of our children left, it created a new environment in our home. And one of the things that we did when our last 2 kids are twins, and they left at the same time, and we went from having a house full of 7 to just Matt and I, it was such a little thing, but it was a little ritual of just lighting a candle when we ate dinner. And so I wanted to encourage you to think about maybe creating some new rituals, because you are in a different place now. Many of you are working at home full time, with both of you, with your husband and your partner, and with your children not in school. So it's important to recognize that this is really different, and maybe come up with a different thing. It could be, as Matt said, starting every meal with saying what you're grateful for. Make time to maybe listen to music together as a family, or a podcast, or maybe read a book aloud. Or discuss a book. All of these things create time. There's probably something you haven't been doing in the past, but it's new, and it gives some positive vibe for this. One of the other things I wanted to tell you is, in terms, I just mentioned podcast, and I did want to mention 3 podcasts that I think would be really helpful during this time. So there's a podcast called Finding Fred, and it's all about Mr. Rogers. And, he wasn't really just talking to kids. He was talking to adults, right, Matt? You love that Netflix movie on Mr.
Oh, Fred Rogers is
yeah.
great. Yeah. Finding Fred, F-R-E-D.
Finding Fred is a new podcast. Well, I don't know if it's brand new, but I just found it. And I just really wanted to encourage our viewers today, if you're struggling, to check out Mr. Rogers, who always has the power to speak to finding the good in others and finding the good in yourself, and also just about giving yourself a break for being human. So the other one I wanted to talk about is called The Happiness Lab, and it is led by Dr. Lori Santos out of Yale University, and she's also doing a course called The Science of Wellbeing that is free. I am taking it. I participate in a group called I'm Going to Yale. It's probably the only way I'll ever get to Yale. But anyhow, I wanted to recommend that to you. And the last one is Esther Perel, who is a relationship specialist, and she has a new podcast. It's brand new, called Where Should We Begin? And that is available now, and I wanted to recommend that to you. And then the last thing I wanted to do is thank all of you for tuning in, and I'm going to just be quiet for a minute to see if there's any questions that you all want to present to Matt that he can address. Okay, well, while you're thinking of your questions, Matt, yesterday I had some people email questions to me. And one of them was a woman is at home with her children, ages 12 to 17, and her husband, and they're all really cramped into this space, living, both working and living their lives. A very different environment, and they're feeling stressed, and it's taking a toll on their marriage. What could you say to offer comfort or guidance or support to them?
Wow, home with teenagers and all day, gee. I hope you have a big house.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then there's the outdoors. Well, I'm not sure I have any particularly new insights about that, except I would say one thing to try to keep in mind is practice compassion for yourself and for everybody else in the house. It's easy to get frustrated and angry. Everybody's on top of each other, getting on each other's nerves.
Except I never get on your nerves.
No, never. But if you have teenagers or children, remember that they're unfinished adults. The part of our brains that help us to tolerate frustration and to delay gratification don't really fully become operational until our early 20s. So, teenagers may be in adult bodies, but they don't really have adult brains. They're impulsive, they're emotional, they're easily frustrated. Try to be understanding about that and tolerant. Take the long view about that too, and practice some compassion for them and for yourself. If you if you can find ways to nourish your own self, maybe it's a walk, maybe it's a time when you tell the family, okay, nobody interrupt me, I'm going to take a bath for 20 minutes and this is my downtime. It allows you then to be more generous to the people around you. So I think that can be helpful. Somebody said that emotions need motion. And I think what that means is that if you feel something, it's good to get it out. It's good to express it. If you have a friend that you can call when you're really feeling at the end of your rope and say, I just need to unload for a few minutes and ask you to listen to me, that can be a way to kind of cope with those difficult times.
Yeah, and I think I would add that one of the things that's been really helpful to me over the years is when I'm dealing with some strong emotions is take the time to write them down and to write maybe myself a letter or to write the person I'm upset with a letter. I have more letters upstairs in this great big box that I never sent, but it was so good for me to get it out. So I would say, give yourself that permission to, even if you can't express it because it would stir the pot too much in the house, which is what we say in my home, is to still give yourself permission to write it down, and whether you share it or not, it's a different thing. So Takesha's saying she likes emotions need motion. That's good. Okay, thanks, Takesha. Dance party. There you go, Takesha. Okay, so I had another question submitted. Was there a question here?
Yeah, so Tisha writes in and talks about lack of energy or desire to do anything. And, I've heard people say that, gee, they have extra time, but they just don't feel the motivation to do that, and they may feel guilty. Here I am at home, I have time to do these projects, I hear people doing projects, and I don't have the energy or motivation to do that. And that may be a symptom of where you are physically with your own illnesses or conditions. But it also is, kind of a symptom of being down and depressed. When
Right.
people are depressed, they lack energy, they lack motivation, they don't feel like it, and they may sleep more, they may turn to drinking more. I'm hearing that a lot. That's a pretty common experience people are having. So those are coping strategies, not necessarily healthy ones. So if you're feeling that way, first of all, acknowledge that that's okay for now.
Right.
Give yourself permission to feel down. But then ask yourself, well, what can I do in my own life, in my own personal plan, as I talked about before, to try to get moving? There's another little saying that they say in AA. There's a lot of wisdom in Alcoholics Anonymous, and one of the things they say is, well, you fake it till you make it.
Right.
So you may not be feeling it, you may not be feeling energy or motivation, but sometimes just giving yourself the push to get started, to go through the motions until you can recover that sense of connectedness to what you're trying to do. So if you lack energy, you lack motivation, sometimes it just helps to, get out the project, even if you don't feel like it, and allow yourself some time to get involved in something that takes yourself outside of how you're feeling.
And I just wanted to say, because I had been talking to so many women who were talking about this feeling a lack of connection, or also feeling like not having the energy. Prime Time for Women tried to put some programs together that we hope will address some of that. One is an ongoing effort. We have a book club, which is just tons of fun for the people who participate in it. This week we are going to, or next Tuesday will be our book club, which we'll be doing via Zoom. We're going to be discussing Grandma Gatewood's Walk, and we actually have Carissa Beeler-Hip, who is the executive director of Girls Who Hike Maryland. She's going to be leading that discussion. And Grandma Gatewood's Walk is about a 67-year-old woman who found the energy to walk the Appalachian Trail. And it's really inspiring. And one of the things she says is, it's not as hard as some other things that I've been through. So she's really trying to keep it in perspective. And feel free to join us, even if you haven't read the book, just to listen to the conversation. We'll post a link to that Zoom meeting on Prime Time for Women's Facebook page. The other thing we're doing is we are inviting people to share video clips of their children and grandchildren. So one of the things Matt and I are missing most, now I'm going to get a teary here, is we are missing time with our grandchildren. And there is this opportunity to, that I usually have to, I'm really obnoxious about it, show everybody my little video clips of my grandkids, and I'm missing that. So anyhow, there's an opportunity for us to share those clips on Prime Time for Women. Send them to me, I'll approve them, and they'll be up on the Facebook page for everybody to not only have a chance to share their pictures of the grandchildren, but just to enjoy and revel in the beauty of these wonderful children. And then the last thing that we're doing is we've just started a virtual walking to wellness on Wednesday. And I know we can't walk together, but we can all walk individually and then post our pictures during that walk, which is we know is good for us. Matt just told us to get some exercise. And also one picture that you see while you're on your walk that you're grateful for, because we also know that gratitude helps with that positive well-being, right?
Mm-hmm.
So are there any other questions out there? Okay, I have one last little tip, just because Matt was talking about couples living on top of each other and struggling. There's a website called Raw and Naked Living, and the founder of that organization, Jen Silbert, is conducting, it's called a 3-day lockdown for Love Lockdown, I think. And basically, it's a 3-day love lockdown challenge, and it's for couples to participate. It's at no cost. And Jen is a life coach, a holistic life coach, and she has lots of wisdom that she's happy to share with you. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll look forward to hearing from you. And I will post a recording of this presentation on the Prime Time for Women Facebook page, which you can share with those who you know are struggling. Okay, thanks so much. Thanks, Matt.
You're welcome. Take care of each other out there.
Okay, bye-bye.